You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, the Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN and Fandom Podcast Network. I'm Christos, and with me today are Amy and Kelvin. Hello, everyone. Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hello, hello. I am getting ready to go back to work after my 2-week winter break. So, yeah, back to work.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I worked a lot of the break, so I don't have a ton of sympathy for you.
Yeah, I know.
And Kelvin, how are you?
Oh, I'm so happy to see you guys. I am in exactly the same boat as Amy. I've just had 16 days off work. So I've got the Sunday evening dread, return to work. Literally, James is downstairs as we speak, taking down the Christmas decorations, packing them away. It's a snow day. We've got snow here in Manchester. It's freezing cold. So it just feels a little, I'm doing dry January. It just feels a little bit meh. So this is my great joy and gratitude speaking to you guys today. I'm so glad to see you.
How are you doing, Christos?
I'm good. I'm week 2 or 3 now with a personal trainer and cooking a lot lately, and just feel like I've kind of done a nice little reset. And I started before the new year, so I don't feel like I'm just jumping into it on January 1. So I feel like I've already got my traction on this. So it feels really good.
I have been doing a lot of cooking too. It's just so nice when you don't have to worry about work and you can plan and spend hours cooking. I just love it. I've got one last meal tonight, inviting my family over to have a
I've
nice
literally got
dinner.
chicken in the oven as we speak. It's ready in 1 hour and 15 minutes. So come on.
My little funny thing here, I've been using Chat GPT all the time now. So like yesterday I said, hey, Chat GPT, give me a vegan recipe for mushroom soup. And it spit out the best recipe. And I made it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I made it in like 40 minutes. I actually had everything I needed. And about 40 minutes of prep work, and I let it cook. It was great. So,
Christos, you would have been so proud of me. I made a vegetarian because I did use cheese. So sorry. But my new thing that I tried was phyllo dough. And so I made a phyllo dough little, with a pesto and artichoke hearts, olives, the Parmesan cheese,
Very Mediterranean.
and portobello mushroom.
Very good.
Put that on.
It was very good vegan Parmesan now, so that would be very adaptable.
Yes, it was lovely. It was just like the perfect thing to go with my wine.
Speaking of
Which, you guys, I did my Star Trek Wines Advent calendar. And so I have those little bottles. I was like, I don't want to throw them away. They're so wonderful and so creative and so Star Trek. So what I did was I put in those string of LED lights. They have ones that are cork top. So I put them in and I hung them on my banister out on my balcony. And so with little lights outside on my patio, I did post pictures on Bluesky. If you are there, please go take a look. BQN podcasts. And so I have them there. It's been really fun.
Nice. I've got a question about that advent calendar. So if you've got an advent calendar traditionally with chocolate or something, and you'd open the window and eat your little chocolate, if you've got the Star Trek wines one, do you kind of like open your window, take a bottle of wine, neck it for the day, and then have another tomorrow? Or have you saved them up? How have you consumed your wine?
It was a lot. I still have unopened bottles. I'm not going to lie.
amateur.
But it was fun just to taste because they're really small bottle.
Yeah.
I mean, really small.
So small pour.
Yeah.
I just want to give a little quick shout out to Kristin, who is under the weather today, who really wanted to record this particular episode. So shout out to Kristin, and we hope she feels better. All right. So we are here in a brand new year. Hopefully you enjoyed our top 5 Trek new episodes. And we want to continue the new year fun by asking quick little round. What are you looking forward the most from in Star Trek in 2025 or beyond? This could be anything from our upcoming movies and TV series to merch. Kelvin.
Well, starting with on screen, I'm looking forward to hearing more about the shows in development, like Starfleet Academy, which I'm coming around to the idea of more now. But also Tony's comedy show that has been kind of hinted. I don't know why. Something in my gut, since Lower Decks has been cancelled, I'm actually wondering if we're going to get live action Mariner again, since it was so popular with the Strange New Worlds episode. So is she going to be writing and starring in it as Mariner? That's my little hope, whatever. But then the other side of things I'm looking forward to, I'm just really looking forward to seeing you guys and the rest of our friends and family in Las Vegas in the end of the summer and in Sitges at the start of the summer. So yeah, we've got a lot of good holiday time coming up this year, and I can't wait.
That's awesome. Looking forward to seeing you guys too. Mm-hmm. And Amy, what's got you looking forward to the future?
Well, first, I do want to give a shout out to everyone who commented and shared with us their top 5 list from last week's episode. That was really fun. There was someone on Bluesky that was like, I can't even think to choose 5 episodes. I said, yep, fill your paid. So that was really fun. So thank you for the fun discussions and sharing your top 5 with us. So what I'm most looking forward to, if you think about my top 5, where 3 of them were Strange New Worlds episodes. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the next season of Strange New Worlds. I don't want it to be canceled. Let's just let it go. The full 7 seasons. Come on, we can make it right.
We can finally make that happen for one of these.
Yeah, right?
I think the cast is down, and hopefully the quality stays there, and it'll be great. I mean,
yeah.
I think we got a chance. I was funny. I'm thinking of that, Amy. I was moving around there on Paramount Plus yesterday, and I saw the key art for Strange New Worlds, and it's still the season 2 art, and I'm just like, I wonder. And then it just made me think, I wonder what the promo images for season 3 are going to look like. We have that coming probably any time now. That those will probably start to leak out there.
I've just had a really random thought come to mind in relation to Strange New Worlds, because I was just thinking then if we got a full 7 seasons, ultimately the expiration date on Strange New Worlds is Pike's accident and him ending up in the wheelchair. But with everything that they've been planting, like with the timey-wimey, Khan, eugenics wars becomes World War III, the ripple effects of the temporal Cold War, they could push that date of Pike's accident so that we have more time with Strange New Worlds before it kind of transitions to what you would have known as the original series. So there's nothing to say that... I know they've had it in Equality of Mercy. But they could do something if they wanted.
And it doesn't, like the Kelvin universe kind of already set that up, that he ended up in a wheelchair differently in the Kelvin universe. So, yes. Am I thinking that right?
Oh, boy. What if at the very end of Strange New Worlds, it was the Kelvin timeline and not our prime timeline?
Oh, don't do that, Amy. We don't want Strange New Worlds existing in the wrong time. And we've had those old scientists, which is
we already had to deal with all that internet BS where they thought that the final episode of Lower Decks put Discovery as not canon because all we didn't, and it's like, well, then everything else wasn't canon either, including Barge Dead and All right. My thing I'm looking forward to is actually so ever since I was a little kid playing with Legos, I would make Lego ships, Star Trek Lego ships. So I'm looking forward to this Enterprise D Lego set that is allegedly, I mean, it's a highly, highly, highly likely rumor, but it's still just rumored at the moment. But even right, it's supposed to be like in the 3rd quarter of this year. I'm really looking forward to it. So I will be ordering that the first chance I can get, and I'll be looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to Section 31, Strange New
Mhm.
World. I mean, Section 31 is 19 days away, everybody. Do you guys
Oh my
realize
gosh.
that? From the time we're recording, and by the time you're listening to this, it'll only be 14 days away. So
2 weeks.
get ready. I mean, I feel like I would expect to see marketing ramp up tomorrow. It would have to, like tomorrow. Like maybe even tonight here in America, the Golden Globes are on tonight. So I would expect to see. If Paramount did not take a commercial out during the Golden Globes, they missed the mark.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was funny because I have a friend who waited to watch Lower Decks until it had been completed. So was watching it over the winter break. And it's like, if I have to see another Section 31 promo on Paramount again, I was like, oh, but it's Star Trek.
It's like the only place they're promoting it. But
yeah.
All right. Amy, why don't you introduce today's topic?
Well, we are going back to our alternate realities, and this will be a part 4. So we're hitting Deep Space Nine, The Visitor. This is season 4, episode 2. And the synopsis, is Melanie, who is an aspiring writer, wants to know why Jake Sisko stopped writing at 40. Jake tells how his father died in an accident and then suddenly reappeared. Oh.
By the way, is that synopsis wrong? I think he was 37 in the episode when he quit writing and went back to school. Just saying. I just watched it again this morning.
Is this before I start fact checking?
Yeah, right?
know. Well, we know we got Kelvin here. The temporal police over here. So. Okay, so as we usually do when we take on an episode, we kind of break it up into some different topics. So to honor Tony Todd, who recently passed away this past fall, we thought we would talk a little bit about him. Kelvin, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so just a reminder in terms of the story, Tony Todd played the older version of Jake Sisko, and the episode explores themes of grief, sacrifice, and love between the father and the son. It's such a critically acclaimed episode that The Visitor is often ranked amongst the best episodes of Deep Space Nine or even Star Trek overall, with Tony Todd's performance being classed as instrumental in the emotional resonance of this story. And just finishing off with like an approach taken, Tony Todd's portrayal brought depth and emotional weight, showcasing an older Jake who sacrificed his personal ambitions to save his father, creating a positive narrative of loss and hope.
So I've always had a funny relationship with Deep Space Nine in that I watched the first 2 seasons while I was in high school. And then I graduated high school and went on to college. And then it was really hard to keep up. And so after when season 3, all that happened, I kind of lost track of the show, but came back later, obviously, and picked that all up and I filled it all in. But by then it was done, right? So The Visitor was one of those episodes that I just always heard fans talking about. And, it's up there with In the Pale Moonlight and Way of the Warrior, in which people talk about the best of DS9, top 5 episodes probably. And so when I finally had rewatched this, several years back, it was like, oh, yes, I see what this is all about. Amy, what were your first thoughts on The Visitors when you first saw it?
Well, when I did my rewatch the other day, I was telling my brother about it, and he's not familiar with Deep Space Nine, more of a TNG. And so to make a connection, I was like, this is an episode like Tapestry. You can just watch it at any time. There's not really any story. It's a complete episode, but so impactful. And he brought up a good point. He's like, well, I don't really know those characters. And I think that might have something to do with why The Visitor is so special, is because I know these characters. We see the love of Jake and Benjamin, that father-son relationship. We've had 4 years of it on Deep Space Nine. And so The Visitor just hits so special. And again, it's a character story. So I don't know would you show this as a first time to someone? Kelvin, you're saying yeah?
I think it's a good entry one because you're right. It is quite a capsule episode that it references other things, but you don't need to know the massive timeline and the legacy of the show to understand this story of, losing a parent and then your lifelong mission. You won't get the fan aspect of seeing the future versions of the cast that we all know and love. You'll just see them for the first time encountering them.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good entry level.
I mean, yeah, I think so too, because I think the episode does a good job of showing Ben and Jake at even from the beginning before the accident happens, or when they show them on the Defiant and whatnot, they show how close he is and how much Cisco's looking over Jake and trying to help him along and keep him focused on more than just writing. And anyway, it was I think it's there. I think this is a very good example of a what if episode. This because everything that happens in this episode is undone in the last scenes.
Yeah.
I think Star Trek does really good what if. That's almost its own series, but we're covering it in 20 other different ways. Alternate realities being for one. As we start to talk about canon here and Star Trek history, Amy, why don't you talk to us a little bit about Tony Todd's history with Star Trek, because it's immense as a guest actor.
Well, we know Tony Todd from Next Generation because he plays Kern, Worf's brother. If you remember, gosh, what was that two-parter?
Redemption.
Yes, Redemption. I'm like, I just saw it. Yes. So Tony Todd is also in Voyager, coming later in Prey. He was a Hirogen.
Yeah. In The Killing Game.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No, it wasn't. I beg your pardon.
That was Prey.
It was Prey. Yeah, sorry. Oh, yeah, you literally just read that. I went in my head, sorry.
Yeah. He's also in more than just Redemption and TNG, right? He's in the earlier episode where Worf loses his honor.
Sins of the Father. That's the main. That's his introduction.
Yes.
That's the introduction episode, yeah. And then he plays, after Visitor, he does come back as Kern one more time in DS9, most controversially.
Yeah, in the same season, actually, as the Visitor. So he plays two different characters in the same year on DS9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kelvin, why don't we go on a little bit more about Tony Todd in general?
Okay, so he has a very diverse acting career beyond Star Trek. He's widely known for his roles in the Candyman, the horror franchise, which I'm sure if Kristin was here, she'd know a lot more about it than I would, because that is not my genre. But he's also been in The X-Files and The Flash. He has... Okay. Oh, sorry.
We're I'm going to just jump in here because every time we talk about Tony Todd, I always mention the movie The Man from Earth. Oh. Please go watch it. It is so good. He's the lead, and he is a proto-human, and he lives for 1,000 years. So it's this movie where he's at this age, but going through time, like 1,000 years. So please, it is so good.
How old is that movie?
The Man from Earth. It's came out in 2007. There is a number 2 movie. It's good. It's good, but the first one is really good.
Okay, I've read that too.
Man from Earth. Really recommended. He has got a stage presence, so his background in theatre does inform that commanding presence and that deep, rich, and resonant voice that he's so well known for, which in the world of Star Trek is quite difficult because you can't hide him under a mask. We know it's you, Tony Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he has spoken about his love for the roles that explore complex relationships and human struggles, as evidenced in The Visitor. So clearly a Trek fan himself, being which Star Trek informs and explores those things regularly.
I'm sure Kristin would have more to add with this, but the guy was working up until the end too. If you go look at his IMDb and whatnot, his resume is super long.
Yeah, he was very generous with the fans too. He'd been to STLV. Did you guys ever talk to him or Okay. I saw his table. You know me, walk by. Oh, look, there's Tony Todd.
You're so shy around the actors.
You're getting better.
Yeah.
You are.
That's because you guys forced me to it, and I thank you.
And we ply you with boots.
Oh.
Yes.
I don't know. We'll do, we can do a quick little timeout here. My favorite Amy memory is taking a picture of her with Marina Sirtis on the Star Trek cruise. And then Marina goes and sits down, and Amy went and sat down right next to her and carried on a conversation.
That's because Christos is in my ear. Look, there she is. Just go talk to her. Go talk. I'm literally, Christos is behind me, pushing me. And again, thank you.
and then snapping evidence as it's happening.
Yes.
All right. Back to the podcast.
All right.
So topic 2, this episode, wow. I think it deals with the loss of a parent, the way that affects Jake in this particular episode, and how Jake deals with it. And then, of course, this is going to change over time because, a year or two later in the timeline, Jake realizes his dad didn't really die. He's been trapped in subspace. And so that kind of changes everything too. So Jake basically devotes his entire life to trying to find a way to bring his dad back. What do you guys think about this? When he finally realizes, okay, he's not dead and I can do something about it. I feel responsible. Amy.
Okay. That's what hit me the most with this episode. So we're seeing Jake deal with him feeling responsible. Maybe not so much at the beginning, but then when Cisco keeps, or I guess I should say Benjamin, when Benjamin keeps reappearing, and then he's like, oh my gosh, I need to do more, especially that time where they tried to do the force field, and that was just heartbreaking to lose him again. And when Jake is telling the story, you can feel the guilt that he feels. And then to come to find out, he gets his doctorate in all the science stuff to try and figure out subspace. And then he realizes he's the anchor. That's why Benjamin keeps coming back. Like, it's his fault. It literally is his fault. So then when he decides to end it, then it's going to, reset the timeline. But at that moment, I just wonder, is that the right message to send to children who feel this responsibility, like it's my fault? And then to have an entire episode of, yes, Jake, this is your fault. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know that I like that message.
Yeah, I've looked at this episode with a different message. This would have been a great episode to talk about how to move on and how to cope with loss and the acceptance. It wouldn't have been amazing sci-fi. But the whole kind of trapped in subspace is not the way I view The Visitor. I view it looking at how Jake's responded to the loss of his parents and how it stays with him forever. Now, I must put out there that I am looking at this with no kind of empathy because both of my parents are alive and well. So I don't know what it's like to lose a parent. But I just look at it as, how old is he in season 4? He must be 18 by now. He is a young adult. And whilst the loss of a parent will affect you for the rest of your life, I just used to watch it thinking, without sounding callous, why aren't you over it? When does it get easier?
I feel like
it's a couple of years, isn't it, until they know it's an accident rather than just death.
Yeah, he didn't just die right there. I feel like Jake was doing okay in life. He was writing and a celebrated author, and he had a beautiful wife and a home. And, at the time I believe he's 37. That's why I made that reference earlier. When Ben comes back again, and suddenly he realizes he can do something. So that's when he stops writing, goes back to school, becomes obsessive, ruins his marriage, all that stuff. So I feel like he was coping and thriving up until that point. And it was, this is where, Cisco, or I got to say Ben and Jake, because they're both Cisco, where Ben keeps on coming back is almost, it's like it's ripping off the Band-Aid every time again. It's making that he can't heal because he's watching his father die again roughly every time he comes back. And he can't move on because it's like this reverse cycle of just like, oh, I got to go experience this again. And, you say that if I had that opportunity to say something to somebody again, well, he keeps getting this opportunity every couple of years, it seems. Yeah. And he can't move forward because it becomes fresh all over again.
Yeah. And we get this lovely dichotomy of, should I move forward? No, I can't move on. And every single time Ben comes back, he's like, tell me what's going on. You need to move on. I want grandchildren. Like, even so, it makes me wonder, Ben isn't realizing passage of time.
No.
So even for him in those smallest of moments to tell Jake, let's move on. I want to see grandkids next time I see you. Like, let's go on. Like, a true parent who loves his child is going to say these things. And it was very difficult watching this. I lost my mother a couple years ago. And so many times my mom would say, tell me about your life. And she wanted me to move on. And so it's like seeing this and hearing Ben say this to Jake. Oh my gosh, just brought back those feelings. And it felt like my mom telling me, just keep on moving, keep on doing. Don't, mourn me. Don't try and get me back. Like, I wouldn't, but the moving on with remembrance and with honor, I think is the best.
Yeah. And again, I don't have children. Not only have I not lost a parent, I don't have children, but I connect more with Benjamin's reaction in those later appearances where he's like, you're now older than I am. And, you've put your life on hold. You've lost your lovely wife. Where are these grandchildren? You've stopped writing. And you can see in the way Avery plays it, he's so disappointed that it's like losing two lives. Benjamin's life is trapped, but Jake has, in inverted commas, wasted his life by devoting it to and Benjamin must feel awful when he said, I'm fine, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Live your life. So
I mean,
it's not right.
So Ben's only living a couple of minutes every 10, 20 years, right? I think he only memories he have is when he does phase back into real time and whatnot. So I get a little confused at Ben's reaction to the final time he's with Jake in the future, and Jake's an old man, and I think he takes something to pass away, and because Jake has figured out that they're tethered together, and that if Jake dies while Cisco is with him, or Cisco with Ben with him, then he'll be released. And so that's how Ben will be released, and it'll actually like snap it back, and Jake's figured out that it's going to go back to the moment of the accident and reset the timeline. But Ben seems apprehensive about that. Like, no, don't do it. Don't. And he's like, why are you killing yourself? Basically all of that. But it's like, but I would say if we're presented with the opportunity to just, hey, let's pull this back and act like it never happened, why wouldn't you do that? So
maybe he was worried about the temporal prime directive.
Be. I mean,
but it's basically Jake is just saying he's going to erase his life and take it back. And although he might have a happier life if Ben hadn't died, Cisco's grieving. You've lived all of these years, and you're again throwing them away now by erasing them.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple of things that I like. First off, I get very like Yesterday's Enterprise vibes out of some of the premise here, like the idea that Jake kills himself at the right moment and it resets things, or the Enterprise C going back through the rift is going to also reset things. And it's like, but in TNG, that was the right thing to do, but it might not be the right thing to do. I mean, when is it the right thing to do, I guess, to go reset the timeline? I mean, I feel like there's almost competing ideas of, what action we should take and why we should take it.
Well, and I think that sort of goes to answer your question. Like, Sisko is living in the moment. And if his moments are few and far between, just these moments with Jake, like, then he's going to want all the time, like, don't worry about that. Just come be with me. Tell me about, and Jake or Benjamin even says that, just tell me about your life. So, and he's like, well, I'm going to do this and this and this. And it's like, wait, no, just be with me now. Let's not, so I can see maybe why Sisko or Benjamin didn't want anything to happen if you are living in the moment.
Mm. I've got a question I want to ask and put it out there. So we don't have a season 8 of Deep Space Nine. The end of Deep Space Nine is only 3 years after The Visitor. And as we know, spoilers, Sisko goes to become a prophet in the wormhole at the end. So again, he's gone, but he's not really dead.
I know. It's
how do we think Jake spent the year of season 8 of Deep Space Nine and beyond? Would he have been the same, different? Would he have been trying to bring the emissary back from the wormhole to be with Cassidy? Or would he have matured in those 3 years that he can deal with it? Is it he feels he could step up and look after Cassidy and the baby? It's the same situation, but we don't know how it played out. So how do you feel Jake would have been in that year? How do you think he would have behaved, Amy?
Well, if we are assuming that Jake does not remember the events of The Visitor and doesn't know that he, quote unquote, wasted his life trying to bring him back, with those tendencies of who Jake is as a person, I believe most likely he's going to repeat that and try and bring Benjamin back out of the wormhole into his life. I mean, if that's the course that it was going to happen, then he might go about it differently. But I feel that's his nature that we saw 3 years before. That's what's going to happen. It just might be a little smarter. I don't know. What do you think, Christos?
Yeah, what do you think, Christos?
I think he wouldn't be trying. I mean, I think he'd be wishing, of course, and it would be hard for him to know his dad's still out there and could come back at any time or not. I think there's a much more of an understanding between what's going on with the wormhole aliens or the prophets, whatever we want to call them, and whatnot. So I think he would be a little bit more understanding that's beyond his control. But he's also going to be about 3.5 years older, a little bit more, hopefully, emotionally developed. He's got his support team around him, obviously. So I think he's definitely going to be affected, but I think he would be living his life, I would hope. We do see a little bit of this in What We Leave Behind, or the documentary where they flesh out what season 8 of DS9 would look like, potentially. We do have a little view of a what if that could be, and that does involve Sisko coming back. So I don't know. I think it's really, there are so many things with that. I was thinking of myself watching it this morning too, like in that season 8 that was fleshed out in that documentary, had Captain Nog on the Defiant, of course, very briefly before it gets destroyed. But in this alternate reality, we also have Nog captaining the Defiant just for this mission. But it's just, there's so many things that I just feel like I love that a lot of this episode is brought back in the very end of DS9, and some of it's part of that pitched season 8. So it's very, I guess, even though it's an alternate reality, it's very important to canon.
It is.
All right. So assimilations and regenerations. And I feel like there are some, although there's some really good things in this episode, there's a few things to have some regeneration on. So Kelvin, why don't you start us off with some assimilations?
I'm going to go back in time to my, oh God, what would I have been? Maybe 15 years old. Seeing those All Good Things uniforms reused in the future timeline and the com badges. It's just, I love my timelines, my continuity. It was amazing. It almost validated Deep Space Nine to me because All Good Things is held in such a high regard as an episode. So to see those future timeline uniforms again, I was so excited as a kid. That's my first.
Okay, so I've just got to jump in because that was my assimilation too. I am wearing my very specially created from JJ, the comm badge from this episode, which I was going to ask, have we seen these before? And of course, Kelvin knows the answer. So All Good Things, that's what they're from?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's almost like Paramount taking, or CBS or whatever, taking a little bit of the cheap route, so to speak, of saying, hey, we did all these uniforms for this other episode. Let's just pull these back out. And maybe we have to make a few more, but we're good to go. We have this already figured out.
Exactly.
Well,
but it's the continuity that they knew by that year Starfleet would be wearing those. So if we're going to close to that year, bring them out.
But All Good Things is like Q messing with things. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like...
Kate, wait, I have questions though. I thought All Good Things was the delta with the, and then your rank was the number of lines.
Oh, that's Future Imperfect.
That's Future Imperfect and Parallels.
Yeah.
So
with a
Parallels is the one that reuses Future Imperfect.
Correct.
So this is All Good Things being reused by the Visitor.
Yeah.
To be used one more time in Voyager's Endgame.
Yeah, and just to kind of give props to JJ, our patron, the ones that he's made, I think he's made both versions. He's made the All Good Things ones, and then the ones that were a slight modification for Picard, which were more rounded with the top of the delta. Whereas that was the bars. Yeah.
It's both of them in the episode because I was like, oh my gosh, JJ made both of them because I decided which one to wear.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, thank
okay.
you,
yeah. That's my assimilation. That was just so cool to see, those alternate and just how it's changed a little. And I'm telling you, I've been podcasting and doing this. When did I start? Oh my gosh, it'll be 10 years this year, you guys. Wow. And I'm finally coming around to noticing the small details like comm badges.
Oh. We'll make canon police out of you yet.
I know. You're rubbing off on me, Kelvin. That's how.
Well, in 10 years' time, I might wake up to the emotional resonance of some of the themes, like Kristin is so famous for slapping me around the face with, whereas I'm just bothered about the continuity and the pew pew pew.
The pew pew pew. Let's see here. Nog deepens his voice when he's the captain. It sounds like it's a little minor thing, but it's really good acting on his part to make it more believable that he is, much older. And having followed the epic Way of the Warrior, that's the prior episode if you're actually watching these in order, I think the tone was set and the bar set high for what would be arguably one of DS9's strongest seasons.
It really is. I remember running to buy the 2-episode VHS releases of Star Trek around this kind of time frame. So clearly everyone was really excited about the Way of the Warrior. And I got that. And a bit like when 7 of 9 appeared on Voyager, you just wanted to know, what is this new character going to do next? So I just wanted, and I don't get too excited about Worf very often, but I just really wanted to know what's next after the Way of the Warrior. And he doesn't really do much, but I was so surprised with the quality of the Visitor on the back of the Way of the Warrior that I didn't buy that cassette, that VHS for the story of the Visitor. I just wanted to see more Worf. So to be totally floored by this amazing story, I thought, wow, we've really turned a corner here in DS9.
So I feel like we just perfectly flip to our regenerations, because Worf doesn't have a whole lot of anything to do in this episode. And in fact, I will say, when they show Sisko's funeral on the promenade, it literally shows Worf speaking at Sisko's funeral. And I'm like, they just met. I know he's your commanding officer, but I doubt he would be in the lineup of speakers,
Right.
Even, so I thought that a little bit of a regeneration for me is that Worf was speaking at the funeral.
Even so much that there's the scene where they're doing the evacuation and they're saying to Jake, you should be on one of those ships that are leaving. That line is literally stolen from Kira. It's so obvious that Worf wasn't there to do. They just needed something for him to do contractually.
I bet you, if you think about it, these episodes were probably written in that summer. Did they know Worf was really joining the show? They have different writers. Somebody else probably wrote The Visitor, and very much like, we got to give Michael Dorn a few lines and put him in a few scenes of this episode so that he could, just because. And that's probably what happened, Kelvin, exactly what you said.
Completely great.
Well, one thing that I need to regenerate, just shaking my head, is how people think that old people are. And the sad thing is that they're not even that old. So the first time when it's been, 17, 14 years or something, that little in between. And then a little bit later, Dax and Bashir, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they're like shaking a little bit. I'm like, they're not 90. And okay.
They're both in their 20s at the beginning of DS9.
Yeah. So what is this? 20 years later, okay, you're going to be 40 and you're like, and shaking. And I think, okay. But to be fair, and I have thought about this, our old people were old, like my generation. So like my grandma looked old. It's not that way anymore. So grandmas nowadays don't look like grandmas. And so it's hilarious. Yeah, they're mamas or whatever.
Grandma.
Oh, yeah. Yes. My sister is Gigi. I don't even.
And the gays just turn into daddies.
Oh. So
30.
Yeah. So the aging does not hold up well in this episode. It looks so much better than Unnatural Selection of TNG when, our lovely Dr. Pulaski decided she's never coming back to Star Trek because of that aging makeup. So kudos for developing it. And it looks really good. Tony Todd looks great as an old Jake. But the acting is just hilarious of like, this is what a 40, maybe 50-year-old. No, I am 51 and I don't look like that or act like that.
But like totally conversely, if you compare this to All Good Things, where at the end of TNG, Beverly's probably in her mid to late 40s. They age her up 25 years, and they don't age her that much. And by the way, now she's a starship captain. That makes a little bit more sense. She doesn't look ancient, and she's still working, and blah blah blah. Whereas Dax, conversely, is being aged up so much more. And even Tony Todd, to be aging Jack, he looks like he's ready to have a scene with Admiral McCoy in the first episode of TNG, and they could have been they could have been Academy brothers together. 128 years old, not 60 years old.
Right. I am going to go deep with my one. Speaking of old Dax, so if we're thinking about erasure of this timeline with the reset and the saving of Benjamin, what it means is that Jake's actions in the episode do save Benjamin, but it changes the trajectory of Dax's life, because now we see an old Jadzia who didn't die 2 years after the Visitor, whereas Jake resetting the timeline, Dax died. So we know Jadzia is my favorite character. That's in the back of my head when I watch this episode. Saving Benjamin, lost Jadzia.
He also caused a Dominion War, if you want to go that much deeper.
Oh, well, I'm more concerned about Jadzia.
Yes. Yes.
little bit of loss
Millions
of
of people died. Cardassia got eradicated, but Dax, oh poor Dax.
Oh, Dax.
I mean, in another reality, T'Pol has her essence. So,
Ooh. Oh, I love that. Oh, also as well, can I just say, I mean, I know clearly this is a tour de force for Tony Todd, and we've already laboured how great a job he did, but why don't you think they just aged up Sirach and let him play himself? They aged everyone else up, and
yeah, I think he was too young. His voice isn't even as mature and dark and deep, like it would need to be. I could not see 16, 17, 18-year-old Cyric Lofton pulling that off. Maybe now, or he could totally, obviously, keep all acting. I just don't think going from 18 to 68 in makeup would have. I don't think it would have hit as hard.
Right. Okay. I wonder if Sirach wanted to. I wonder. I probably spoke about it in a panel at some point, but I've not seen it. Maybe any of the listeners could put me right on it. But I wonder how he felt about the best Jake Sisko episode being about someone else playing Jake Sisko.
That's
controversial.
I wonder if he's spoken about it on his podcast.
I'm sure it's come up. I'm sure that's had to have come up.
7th Rule.
Research.
Oh, yeah, because they are on season 4, episode 21.
Oh, right.
So, yeah. I'm going to have to go listen to the 7th Rule.
Shall we jump over to some trivia and continuity?
Yes, please.
So Jake began writing Anselm under Anaya's influence later in the season in The Muse. And, oh my God. So I just watched RuPaul's Drag Race premiere yesterday, and there's a drag queen from Cleveland, and her name is Anya Nerve. And that's what I was just thinking of when I read this. Anya Nerve.
It's a great name, but wasn't there a drag queen years ago who had a headpiece with another head on it, and the head was called Onaya?
Yep. Yeah. Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, that's how she entered the season, like in the first episode. Yeah. Memorable.
Yeah.
Well, the Dominion War did not happen as of the 2390s in the alternate timeline. Nog states, I think they, the Klingons, were happy to have us test the waters in the Gamma Quadrant after all these years. Find out how the Dominion would react to ships coming through.
Yeah, good point. We get that shot in the upper pylon with Jake staring out into space and Kira approaching him from behind to comfort him. And it's almost like it predicts that final shot in What You Leave Behind. The only difference is that the shot in the final episode is from the outside of the station, where this one is from the inside. So despite the camera differences, position, the blocking of the actors is very similar in both shots. That's cool.
Yeah,
I love when Star Trek references itself, and this is a very good example of DS9 referencing DS9, and it's pretty cool. I love this next one because I do love Kira. So this is the first episode where Kira is seen wearing the red uniform and not the orange. If you have to look really subtle, you have to really look. They are two different colors. Kira wears a new uniform from this episode onward, I guess with the exception of taking on the Starfleet episode or Starfleet uniform for the final episodes of the series. The shoulder pads on the old uniform have been reduced and the neck opened. The color is also a little darker, and Kira now wears high heels. According to costume designer Robert Blackman, the new outfit was more body conscious. Actress Nana Visitor appreciated the change as the previous uniform had made it more difficult to move. However, Ira Stephen Bear recalled that some fans on the internet, and this was early internet days, listeners, accused the producers of turning Kira into a Baywatch babe. And an idea that they strenuously denied. And so when I read this, I went and did some research, and I feel like if you actually look at her previous uniform, I can see where the way that it was padded on the shoulders and stuff, I bet you that did limit movement for Nana Visitor. and they did relax it a little bit, made it easier for her to move. And a lot of actresses did prefer to be in high heels just to make them a little taller in the scenes. So I feel like since she appreciated it, I have no problems.
Yeah, I think it's a better uniform appearance, but it is that, why is she wearing something different than everybody else? So if this was an alternate uniform that people in the Bajoran militia could wear, why didn't we see other people wearing that uniform too? To single her out is a little bit like the whole T'Pol thing.
Right.
So I see both sides of that argument, but personally, as an appearance thing, I think it looks better than the season 1, 2, and 3 uniform.
It's the same reason that Dax, Crusher, and Troy all got basically zipped into their season, the later, the first contact uniforms. Like they were literally became jumpsuits for them that, they got zipped into the way the old uniforms were to make it a little more form-fitting.
Well, talking about uniforms, this is the first episode to feature O'Brien's embroidered rank insignia, similar to the U.S. Navy, with stripes denoting rank.
Similar to the later Star Trek Enterprise episode Twilight, as well as the Voyager episode Time and Again, and Year of Hell, and Year of Hell Part 2, this is basically kind of the bad dream episode in which the plot resolution prevented the main part of the story from occurring. However, because Jake continued to write, it is still entirely possible that Melanie will become a fan of his in the main timeline. The episode is similar to the Star Trek Next Generation episode The Inner Light, in that the way they both feature a character living up an entire life up to an old age, the difference being that unlike Jean-Luc Picard, Jake lived as himself. Picard also retained all the memories of his life as Kanem after the incident, while Jake didn't remember anything at all about his older self. So kind of what we've been talking about, these alternate realities, obviously our theme for the episode, but the reset button where it's like everything just goes back. It's very Year of Hell, actually, just right back to the minute it happened.
I've just watched the Year of Hell yesterday.
I'm living it.
So question. So that just says Jake didn't remember, which we assumed. So Sisko doesn't remember as well?
Benjamin.
Yeah, Benjamin. Yeah.
I think he does, because old Jake tells him you have to move out of the way, and he does. Otherwise, if he would not expect him to be able to remember anything, he wouldn't have known. Telling him to move would have been stupid. It wouldn't have made any difference.
Yeah. And that final emotional embrace where Benjamin's crying and, the sacrifice of it all, he definitely remembers.
Do you think Ben would tell Jake?
I don't think he would.
Think so. I think it would just affect how he parents going forward. I think he would just take extra care.
All right. Well, how was this episode received? Well, many fans and critics have praised Tony Todd's performance in The Visitor as one of the most emotional and impactful guest roles in the Star Trek universe.
And so much so that this episode earned a Hugo Award nomination for Best Dramatic Presentation, with Tony Todd's performance often singled out as the highlight. So, your guest star actually wins you all the awards. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, a guest star should elevate a show. So, final thoughts. What did you make of this episode, Amy?
First, I was very worried about coming and talking about this, because as I watched this a couple times in preparation, like all the feels of feeling my mother and sort of processing her loss and what does that mean to me. And it just goes to show the pain never stops. At least it hasn't for me. Learning to deal with it and try and think about, just as Jake was receiving Ben's words of, I want grandkids, I want a future, be happy. Like, those are the things that a true parent wants. And it was just very glad to know that I had such a wonderful mother, just like Ben was to Jake. And this episode is so well done with the acting. And when you are looking into Ben's eyes when he's talking to Jake. Like, you are enveloped, you are right there. And Avery Brooks just delivers emotion right through the television set. It's remarkable. We didn't talk about it enough, but it's definitely a highlight. As far as alternate timeline goes, it's fabulous. Very well told, believable. It makes sense. We don't really know much about subspace, so sure, he's hanging out in subspace. It's very, very well done, and we get the little snippets of the Deep Space Nine coming in, and the Nog and his friendship, and how do you move through a grief and a loss like that. Is so well developed. Just another tour de force episode from Deep Space Nine.
Lovely. And Kelvin, what do you think of this episode?
I just think it's a lovely blend of a really high concept science fiction premise that gives us an alternate timeline and a future view of our beloved characters, which is really exciting because they're in the new uniforms. It's like you get a sneak peek of the future seasons now, which I always loved as a teenager. But as I've grown, I appreciate more the Jake and Benjamin character-driven tragedy side of the story. I'm quite a hard-faced old queen. I don't really have that much emotion. There's probably a bit of Vulcan in me. So whether everyone used to go on, oh, it's so tragic, I'd be like, it
British
just,
Jerry.
yeah, exactly. As evil Brits, we don't care. But I do now as an adult. So I appreciate it in a different way, but also in the same way as I've just said with all my uniforms and my comm badges. So it is a great episode. And I know I said it earlier, but I also really love the irony that Jake Sisko's best episode. He's not even played by Sirach in most of the episodes. So I find that funny. So it's got something for everyone.
Sounds like something that would happen to Wesley.
Yeah.
I really enjoy this episode for lots of reasons. It does, like, you have those throwbacks to like yesterday's Enterprise or Future Imperfect, even where we get to see not an alternate reality but an alternate future. So I really like those kinds of episodes. So this is really good. I think this is another great example that in Star Trek, a strong story doesn't need a bunch of special effects and shoot 'em up and space battles. You can have a good dramatic story with a good sci-fi premise, of course, to anchor it. And the most special effects we have are aging makeup, going on here. It's in the makeup department, and it's really the story that drives this episode. And so, kind of reminds me of Ad Astra Per Aspera in that respect. That this is just dialogue and drama, and it's one of the best hours of Star Trek. All right. So, given that this was part 4 of our alternate reality series, basically we're going to try and say who did it best now. Previously, we have covered TNG's Yesterday's Enterprise, which we've referenced several times, Enterprise's Twilight, and Voyager's Timeless. So, Amy, if you had to pick one of these 4, who's done it best?
Who did it best? Well, for today, of an alternate reality, I'm gonna go Enterprise Twilight. I love the Archer and T'Pol. I just love that little bit that they have together, and I don't ever want to lose it. So I'm going with the Twilight.
Very good. And you, Kelvin?
Do you know what? This is the hardest who did it better out of any single time we've asked this question on All Good Things, because all of these episodes are so iconic. And we've got one from each Berman era Star Trek as well. We've got TNG, Voyager, and Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the perfect impossible choice.
Yes.
And Twilight is my favorite episode of Enterprise. Yesterday's Enterprise is Yesterday's Enterprise, everyone's most beloved. It's got Tasha Yar. This is as great as we've just said, and then you've got the 100th episode of Voyager celebration with LaForge and the Galaxy class ship, and oh my god,
Kelvin, what are you going to choose? Who did it best?
I'm gonna have to go with Yesterday's Enterprise. It's the episode that no matter how many times I watch it, I still get the goosebumps, the feels, the original. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. Yesterday's Enterprise is the OG, and it's the episode that if I had to expand my top 5 from last week and maybe say what's my top 10, maybe Yesterday's Enterprise would probably creep into that, top 10 episodes. It's just that good, and I just remember being very impacted as such a young kid watching that, and I totally grasped what happened, and I think it's episodes like that probably helped make me who I am now, because they taught me to think outside the box at such a young age. So Yesterday's Enterprise, 2 votes, Twilight 1.
You're right.
And I bet you Kristin would pick Timeless just because that's Kristin. No, she'd pick The Visitor. She'd pick The Visitor. Yeah. We'd pick that one. So we're gonna add her vote in for right there too.
What shows are on BQN, you ask? Well, here's a rundown of some podcasts you might be interested in. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast covering all of Trek, hosted by Amy, Mark, Christos, Kelvin, and Kristin. Whether you've got Xbox or Nintendo, check out Bargain Bin Gamer, a YouTube show hosted by Davey, a self-proclaimed gamer who specializes in reviewing and showcasing affordable video games. 2 episodes enter the arena, 1 comes out victorious. Join hosts Joe and Kevin, and a guest, as they debate which should win the Batleth battle. Grab your popcorn as you listen to Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast showcasing films you probably missed, but should definitely check out. Hosted by Mark and Matt. Don your apron for The Food Replicator, where Matthew eats and drinks his way through the Star Trek cocktail and 3 cookbooks. Beam aboard Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast covering all of TNG, hosted by Steven. In order to not repeat it, listen to History with the Szilagys, a snippet of historical events from around the world, hosted by Chrissie and Jason. For the newest Trek coverage, check out Infinite Diversity, hosted by Chrissie and Thad. Curl up with a good book and delve into beta canon with Peter, host of the online Trek Book Club on Twitter, and his new companion, Trek Book Club podcast. Test your Trek knowledge with Trexperts Quiz, a Star Trek quiz show hosted and written by Davey. Whether you're a member of Starfleet Federation or Planetary Union, go check out Union Federation, covering current Star Trek and the Orville, which we all know is really a Trek show, hosted by Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley. Head over to YouTube and watch The View Screen live on Sundays, your Trek-inspired talk show hosted by Kelvin and Amy, with Season 2 starting in September for a 10-week run. Spill the tea with Christos while he discusses current Trek news and events and explores the world of fandom via guest interviews, all with a LGBTQIA+ perspective on What's the Tea Bev. And for our Patreon members, we have The Hive Mind with monthly script readings, Let's Fly, a Discovery reaction show, It's Green, a cornucopia of topics, Amy's Math Moments, a quick look at math moments in Star Trek. We know you have a choice of podcasts to choose from, and we thank you for listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Kelvin, what are we taking on next week?
I'm really excited. Last week we were saying about Strange New Worlds and basically put half of season 2 in our top 5s. Well, we are continuing with season 2 of Strange New World, and we are continuing with our time travel series, and we're at part 10. Can you believe? Part 10. We are covering season 2's Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which is one of my favorite episodes of season 2. It's the reason I have fallen in love with Laan and why she's my favorite character now in Strange New Worlds. I know it's not everybody's favorite of the season, but it's one of mine, and I can't wait.
I have to agree with you. That's where I fell in love with Laan as well.
Yeah. I don't think season 2 has a stinker at all. So
no,
they're all just, it's all different degrees of good. So I'm looking forward to rewatching this one for next week. We would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, or our Discord server to continue our discussion there. You can reach us at All Good Pod on Bluesky. Please follow the network on Bluesky and Instagram at BQN Podcasts. We've also partnered with our friends at the Fandom Podcast Network, where you can find us by searching their master feed. Links can be found in the show notes. So, Kelvin, where can people find you when you're not trapped in subspace?
When I'm not trapped in subspace, you can find me on social media, where you can come to me at Kelvin's Timeline on most of the socials, or you can come on the BQN Collective Facebook group, where I'm an admin in that group, and we can chat there and post funny memes and make comments. And Amy, where can people find you when you're not being a jittery old lady that's no good without her cup of coffee in her future Timeline uniform and JJ's com badge?
Well, you can find me here on the network, where I'm co-hosting Union Federation and soon to be The View Screen, coming in February. I am on social media, as I mentioned before, on Bluesky. It's really nice. Everyone's so lovely. At BQN Podcasts. Also on our Discord server and our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. And Christos, where can people find you when you are not writing your memoirs?
You can basically find me everywhere you just said. No, but you can find me on Instagram and Bluesky at Greek Geek SD on Instagram with What's the Tea Bev, BQN Collective on Facebook. You can find me in the Federation on Facebook, and you can find me in the Discord server, which has been a little bit more active this week. I'm giving myself a little pat on the back for that. I think that's because we actually had a really engaging episode last week, and there was a lot of listener participation, so that was very appreciated. So shout out to everyone who also gave us some of your top 5s. I know it wasn't. So I have been listening, still getting through season 3 of Investigates, and because she's dropped like 8 episodes in like 2 weeks time, and I'm listening to like 3 audiobooks and 20 podcasts, and I've just been trying to digest it sorely. But one complaint I have about Investigates is not only does it have ads, but the ads will drop at mid-sentence at any given time, and they drop at a really high volume level that's not equal with the audio of the podcast. So here at BQN, we will never make you listen to an ad. If you'd like to help us keep our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can join our Hive Mind reaction show, script readings, and enjoy our special patron-only shows of It's Green, Amy's Math Moments. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details.
Did we just hear him diss Gates McFadden? I think we did, people. We did.
I think I dissed the production.
Yeah.
Which is beyond her control.
Yeah.
Well, if becoming a patron isn't your thing, do remember you can still support the show by sharing our posts on social media, talking about it with your friends, or hitting the like and subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leaving us a star rating and a 5-star written review. That helps others to find the show.
And at this time, we would like to thank our very own associate producers, Mahendran Radhakrishnan and JJ Seastrum. Yay. Thank you so much. And a special thanks to Graham Kelly for our opening and closing music and Mark White for our show brand artwork. And I'm thanking Kelvin for our episode arts. Each and every.
Does that mean I'm doing it every week now? Is that you just delegated that to me?
You do it so well.
You do.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you join us as we search out
all good things.